Hello everyone, Shikari here and I'm back with another episode of Film Talks. If you remember a while ago, like one of my very first Film Talk episodes actually, I think it was, I discussed a film called The Raid versus Dredd, but Dredd is important for this because yesterday I went to see The Raid 2, which has recently come out in cinemas, and I went to see it yesterday, and so this episode I'm going to be basically doing a structured review, so it's slightly different to what I've done in the past. It's it's a review of The Raid 2. Now, I'm going to try and keep it relatively spoiler free. I won't spoil anything in The Raid 2, but I may mention things that happen in The Raid. So if you're bothered about spoilers with The Raid, I suggest that you maybe don't watch it until you've seen it. If that makes sense. So The Raid 2, went to see it yesterday, and I had to say that I haven't seen a film. Like, before yesterday, I was thinking, you know what, this year's been kind of, like, not bad with films, but I haven't seen a film where I've walked out of the cinema and just said, wow. And yesterday, I walked out of the cinema after seeing The Raid 2, and I just went, wow, because it was utterly just phenomenal. It's much longer than the first Raid, it's 2.5 hours, but it doesn't feel like, it feels as long as the first Raid, because it's much more, I don't know, I guess it's much more action packed. I guess the story feels like it's moving forward rather than The Raid 1. A lot of it was like, I loved the film, and this isn't a criticism of it, a lot of it was fighting through one level of the apartment block, moving to the next one, another fight, and I don't have a problem with that because it was just a lot of fun. But this was something else. So the story of The Raid 1 was that they were a SWAT team. They had to go from the bottom of a block of apartments to go and destroy this drug cartel leader who was at the top, and so they had to fight through there, and it all goes wrong halfway through, and he's left with only a few members of his team to get to the top. Lots of fight scenes ensue, etc, etc, etc. The Raid 2 picks up pretty much straight after that, so soon after it that Rama's wounds from the first one, if you remember, he gets cut on his cheek at one point when he's fighting the guys with machetes. He gets cut on his cheek, when, you know, they stab through the wall and whatever. That is still bleeding, so it's literally right after, and so these cops have got him, and they're sitting there, and they say to him, "Look, we need you to go undercover in order to protect you, so you can't have any contact with anyone else, so we need you to help us uncover police corruption and the whole mafia mob family kind of thing, so we're going to put you into a prison. You need to beat up this politician's son, get put into prison and get noticed by not the mafia, the crime gang, his son who's also in the prison. He needs to get noticed by him, you know, get inside, kind of like the Sleeping Dogs story, if anyone's played Sleeping Dogs. So it's kind of similar to that in a way. It's a little, I know, maybe on a bit of a wider scale, much bigger characters, much more prime members of the crime gangs. And so he goes into the prison, he goes undercover, and does all of that, and then it ensues from there. And while the story doesn't express much originality, it's still a solid story, which I still, you know, no matter what, like with Sleeping Dogs it was the same, you still love the story because it's a solid story. And what The Raid's more about, because obviously what I was worried about when I went to see it is because of how simple The Raid 1 was. I was worried whether that formula that The Raid 1 had would be able to transfer onto the bigger scale with the more, because The Raid 1 was all in real time. It was an hour and a half in the actual film, hour and a half long film, you know, all of that was in real time, whereas this is spread over, you know, years. So it's obviously on a much bigger scale, and you know, there's always this kind of almost hesitant, like you're cautiously excited for it because you're not sure whether it's going to work in the end and whether it's actually going to pay off, whether they can actually keep you gripped for the full 2.5 hours that it is. And it does. It works really, really well. I honestly, I haven't seen a film as good as this in I don't know how long. It was truly just, it was really, really amazing. And then the other thing, obviously with the Raid 1, there wasn't much backstory. You had the whole thing with the leader of the SWAT. I'm not going to say any more than that. I'm trying to keep it as spoiler-free as possible. And then you had Rama's storyline with certain members of the gang, and that's all I'm saying on that. But on this, you have lots of different storylines, and it's all kind of double-crossing, betrayal, all of that. And is Rama becoming a criminal, or is he keeping to his cop ways? Is he still remaining a cop? Because he's completely undercover. He's not a SWAT member anymore. He's not a cop. He's a criminal now. So he gets into fights with cops or whatever. But the main thing about the Raid 1 was the action. And that was what really gripped you for the full hour and a half. Because it was basically a non-stop action sequence. And it was utterly fantastic. But the Raid 2 obviously there's obviously a lot more story, a lot more acting, a lot more drama within it. Because you have lots of different story strands and all of that. And so the action doesn't need to be... Well, no, it still needs to be what, the kind of thing that the Raid 1 was, but it's not as reliant on the action to keep the story progressing. And the action in this is even better than the first. Like, in every way, I think this just improves on the first. There's this fight scene near the end in a kitchen, and I was like, edge of my seat intensity. It was unbelievable. Not many action sequences managed to make me feel as intense, as kind of almost scared for the character that you're rooting for in that fight, because you don't know how. I honestly had no idea how it was going to end, and so and then there's a car chase sequence in it as well, which is really great. And Iko, is it Iko US? Is that the actor's name? He does all of the, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that he does all the stunts by himself. He does the stunts. He's not an he wasn't primarily an actor. He now is. At least I don't think that's how it was. But he does all of these stunts himself. He does it all on his own. And so all the like the scenes, and so the scene in the Raid 1 when he runs down the hallway and jumps up and crashes down on one of the guys. That was all him, and I just have to commend all the actors in this, because I think they all do it themselves as well. The girl who plays Hammer Girl, Baseball Boy, I think is what he's called. They all do it themselves, and you just got to kind of go, that really is something. This is the best film of the year I've seen so far, and I've seen. This year I've seen 12 Years a Slave, I've seen American Hustle, Inside Llewyn Davis, all of these films which everyone was raving about, and best of those three is Inside Llewyn Davis. I didn't think 12 Years a Slave is still good, not as good as everyone says it is, but I'm not reviewing 12 Years a Slave. But the action in the Raid 2, there's this other prison fight sequence right near the start, where these guys in the prison come up to try and attack Rama, and it just ensues into this all-out riot with weapons, shanks, and everything, and it just goes full scale. And even while everyone's crawling about in the mud trying to get their footing, it's still so majestic the way that it's done. It's almost like it's a very, very, very violent film, the most violent film I've seen. So if you're not one for blood and gore, don't go and see it, because you won't like it. But go and see this film. Obviously if you don't like blood and gore, don't. But if you don't mind it, if you want a good thriller, this is probably the best one made in maybe years. Definitely go and check it out. And at the end of this, now I suggest for anyone which hasn't seen the Raid 2 yet, you stop, because I'm now going to be discussing the possibility of Raid 3, which Gareth Evans has touched upon, saying that there is going to be a Raid 3. I think he said that, or he was, no, he was discussing the possibility for the Raid 3, and so I may mention spoilers of the Raid 2, and so if you don't want the spoilers for the Raid 2, stop watching now, like and favourite, enjoy, subscribe, and I will see you next time. If not, the Raid 3, I came home yesterday and I was looking at what other people thought about it, and I came across some stuff saying that he's looking at the Raid 3, but then I don't know where he's going to go with it, because obviously at the end pretty much everyone is dead, and Rama says at the end, no, I'm done, and so you're kind of like, okay, so what? I'm not sure where they're going to go. He's saying that it's going to take place about 3 hours before the Raid 2 finishes. So I'm just trying to remember what happened. I think I know what bit they mean. But I'm not sure where they're going to go. And so, again, I think I would like to see another. But as long as it's still Rama's story rather than... Because a lot of the things with the Raid 2, that whole bit with Caproso and everything, I think that was the only thing about it which I didn't like, because I wasn't interested in that. I was interested in Rama's story, and not anyone else's. And so as long as it's still Rama's story, I think I'll still like it. But on the other hand, the main attraction for the Raid is the action sequences. And so as long as it's not just a money-making film, I don't have a problem. But, yeah. Anyway, that's all I have to say on the Raid 3, and the Raid 2. That was my review on the Raid 2. Like and favourite, you enjoyed, subscribe, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.